And XL back with another NFXL podcast, and time to look at the preview day three of the NFL Combine, which will be the star-laden day where we see the real potential superstars of the NFL at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver take part in the Combine tests and meetings and whatever. Um, so quarterbacks, well, really, the combine doesn't generally shake up the quarterback picture a lot, and it probably won't do this year either. What can quarterbacks show us athletically that we haven't seen already from them when they were under the microscope so much? But here are my top 11 with their current big board. So the order they come in is the order of my quarterback rankings, and obviously I'll give you their position on the big board. Right, excuse me. Fernando Mendoza of Indiana is at one on my big board. Ty Simpson of Alabama at 34. Carson Beck of Miami at 80. Garrett Nussmeier of LSU at 83. Penn State's Drew Aller at 126. Clemson's Cade Klubnik at 151. Sawyer Robertson, the Baylor Bear at 181. North Dakota State's Cole Payton at 224. Diego Pavia of Vanderbilt at 228. Taylor Green of Arkansas at 230. And Kansas Jayhawk Jalen Daniels at 255. Now, Mendoza's almost a lock to go with the first overall pick. I think Ty Simpson is a dubious quarterback too in this class. I think Carson Beck may challenge him for that role. I'm also not overly keen on Garrett Nussmeier, but I suspect he might be in the running to be the second quarterback taken here. Um, After that, I think there's a decent drop off, and it could be anybody from the rest of this list that comes as a QB5, and that could be anywhere from round four to round six, depending how the demand pans out. But Allard, Klubnik, Robertson, Payton, Pavia, they're all competing for those honours. But that's the quarterback class ahead of this combine. What about a running back? And here I'll go do the same again. Go down the list of the order they are in my running back rankings, and I'll tell you where they are on my overall big board. I'll also flag up anybody who's possibly going to run a quick 40 time. So we might be looking out for them because it's moth to a flame stuff for scouts at the combine. Somebody runs a quick 40, everybody suddenly falls in love with them. Anyway, the first running back on my list is obviously Jeremiah Love of Notre Dame. He's number 9 on my big board, and he might be one to run a quick 40. Jadarian Price, his teammate from Notre Dame, is at 49. Jonah Coleman of Washington at 84. Emmett Johnson of Nebraska at 87. Katron Allen of Penn State at 93. And his teammate from Nittany Lions, Nick Singleton at 103. Singleton's another speedy type. Mike Washington of Arkansas at 133. Then we get another one to watch in the 40, Demond Claiborne of Wake Forest, who's at 140 on my big board. Le'Veon Moss of Texas A&M 169, Seth McGowan Kentucky 179, Jamari Taylor of Virginia 191, Jaden Ott of Oklahoma at 200, Kalon Black of Indiana at 229, Russell Fison of South Carolina at 240, Roman Hemby of Indiana at 242, Terrian Stewart of Virginia Tech at 250, and finally another speedy type, Desmond Reed of Pittsburgh at 260 on my big board. So really, this is where we're going to start seeing the meat from the gravy, as it were, at running back, starting with this combine. Those that I've highlighted, Jeremiah Love, Nick Singleton, Demond Claiborne, and Desmond Reed, they look like the ones to be towards the top of the charts in the 40 time. So anybody who can break into that group of top 4 or 5 that I haven't named, they're probably off to a good start to the combine. And any of those that I've touted that don't run a quick 40, that could hurt them, with the probable exception of Love, who I think is just so far clear of this class that he's going to be the first running back taken anyway. So let's move on to the wide receivers. Long list here. So there's 65 players I'm going to give you here to watch on day 3, and 37 of them are wide receivers. So long list, and I'll just get down it as quick as I can. Again, I'll highlight those that have got a potentially quick 40 time in them. But that doesn't come until number 7 on this list. But the first one is Carnell Tate of Ohio State, who's 8 on my big board. Makai Lemon of USC at 11. Jordan Tyson of Arizona State at 14. Denzel Boston of Washington at 19, Kevin Casey Concepcion of Texas A&M at 26, Omar Cooper of Indiana at 40, Zachariah Branch is the first speedy type. He's out of Georgia, 46 on my big board. Jeremy Bernard, Alabama, 47. Malachi Fields, Notre Dame, 48. Chris Bell of Louisville, 54. Chris Brazzell of Tennessee at 64. Elijah Sarrett of Indiana at 65. Antonio Williams of Clemson at 69. Dion Burks of Oklahoma at 86, another one to watch in the 40. Jacoby Lane of USC at 90. Skylar Bell of Connecticut at 106. Both of the next two should be featuring high in the 40 times in terms of being the quickest. Brennan Thompson of Mississippi State at 112. Ted Hurst of Georgia State at 113. Then we've got CJ Daniels of Miami at 128, Kevin Coleman of Mizzou at 136, Reggie Virgil of Texas Tech at 147, Eric McAllister from TCU at 157. Georgia Tech's Eric Rivers is another one to watch in the 40, and he's 162 on my big board. Josh Cameron, Baylor 164, DeZorn Stribling, Ole Miss 166, Bryce Lance of North Dakota State 168, Cyrus Allen of Cincinnati 178, Aaron Anderson is another quick type from LSU at 189, and they've got plenty of speedsters. I'll come back to the rest later. Chase Roberts of BYU at 210, Harrison Wallace and the third of Ole Miss at 223. Ty Montgomery, who's come onto the radar out of lowly school John Carroll at 233. Dane Key of Nebraska at 246. Then two more ones from LSU to watch in the 40s, Xavier Thomas and Berrien Brown at 247 and 251 respectively on my big board. Cincinnati's Jeff Colwood is 252, and I'll throw two more quick guys in to watch in the 40 at the end of this. Malik Benson of Oregon and Chris Hilton of LSU. So recently, Omar Cooper, Zachariah Branch, Malachi Fields, Ted Hurst, Brennan Thompson, and Reggie Virgil have been the ones on the rise. And Branch, Fields, Hurst, and Thompson, Thompson particularly might be in for a quick 40 time that could really bring him to people's attention. But on the flip side, Chris Bell, Chris Brazzell, and DeZorn Strubling have been losing ground in the draft capital stakes, if you like, recently, and they need a good combine to address that. So there you are, just under 8 minutes. I've given you all the 65 players that I'm most interested in on day 3 of the combine. So let's see what they produce. But that will be it from me for now. So take care of yourselves.